I'm Craig. This is my YouTube channel, Fish On.
Hello, welcome to Fish On.
Welcome back to Fish On, people. We had some really crappy weather out the last few days, and it just seems to be getting worse as it goes, but trying to get some good days of fishing, and there's far few in between, but we're doing our best here at Fish On. So I'm going to do a video for you guys. I just want to give you guys a couple of updates on some things and show you some cool ideas. So you can talk about rods and reels and maybe look at some flies, some of my favorite flies, and you know, go from there. A couple of things on the river to do if you're out and about. I got some really cool ideas, and I'll throw them at you and you tell me what you think. I just want to dive right into this. I did a couple of videos of me making, oh wait a minute. Yeah, my buds are always hanging out with me, and I'm a little hot right now. Anyway, so I'm going to put that off to the side. So I just want to get back to, I did a couple of videos of making some spinners, and I want to just show you the rod that I use for that. I do a lot of fly fishing, and when I go up north, I like to use my spin cast rod. I haven't done a lot of streamer fishing in the past, so I'm just trying to learn to do a little streamer fishing this year, and I've been out a few times, and you know, I'm just starting to get the hang of things. So I just want to get you up to speed. If you've watched the rest of my other videos, you'll see where I went from when I started and when I began to fly fish, and before I fly fished, and what I used to do. Anyway, so I got a 10-foot Browning here, and I've got my Mitchell reel, and I'm only using like 8-pound test on it. And as you can see on the end of that, I've got, maybe you can't see that, but maybe you can see that. There's a pumpkin, an orange pumpkin, one of my favorite spinners that I use for catching pike and bass. It's beautiful rod and reel. This is the weight on this, I believe, is 6 pounds, and I've caught big fish on this, 2 to 6 pounds. And anyways, I'm using 8 pound on that. It's a beautiful rod. I love it. That's my Browning, and I've had that for a number of years, way before I even started into fly fishing. Okay, so since this is a fly fishing channel, let's stick to fly fishing. So I want to point out to you, I did a gear type of video, and I talked about my, Fenwick rod, and I still have that. I have another use for it. So I went out and I purchased a 10-foot rod and a 7/8 weight rod. This is a specific fly rod, and it's actually the same rod I use when I have a 5 and 6 weight. I really like the way that this rod works, and like if I take this off, as a matter of fact, I use this for my streamer fishing. I don't know if you can see my streamer. It's a woolly bugger on the end of that. Oops, I just took the calendar down. But I got the 7/8 weight reel on it, and I just want to talk about the quality and the type of rod and reel that I'm using. It's a 7/8 weight rod, 7/8 weight reel, and this is a 10-foot rod. And I'm not used to this rod being 10 feet, but I like that one as a 10-foot. And the reason why I want to do this video is, for some of you out there just starting out, I bought all my stuff off Amazon. So this rod and reel combination is probably about $200 and some odd dollars. So I paid $100 for the reel, paid $100 for the rod. I'm going to show some pictures of my first rod and reel I bought. And my first reel was kind of similar to this, but in a 5 and 6 weight, which is on another rod and reel that I have behind me, which I got some ideas on that I want to show you as well. So I went out a few times. I wasn't successful doing my steelhead fishing this year, and because I didn't get out enough. That's being honest truth. Weather was a big factor. We got a lot of rain. It was cold. It was windy. We didn't get our warm fronts that we normally get. It's been a cold and wet summer so far. The month of May, the month of June, it has not been nice. And then the month of July as well. So I'm hitting these little small creeks for my small trout fishing for the summer. And I just want to pull my other rods out. Like, I just want to do a nice quick video for you. I don't want to talk all day about things, because you've seen this apparatus that I have. And you're probably wondering, what the hell is that? So I see it all the time. I've been fishing for a very long time. Nowhere have I ever had to break my rod down to 2-foot pieces, shove it in a small thing, and throw it over my back because you want to protect it. A lot of fly companies do that. I've never had a rod break on me walking through the bush or what have you. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rods and reels here, and I've designed these to split the rods in half. And I put this in the back of my truck, and I slide them in, and I put the covers on the reels, and this is a bunch of black ABS plumbing, and I taped it all together with some camo, and I used some PL glue in between them, and I used a wood glue, honestly, and thinned it out with some water to stiffen the tape so the tape wouldn't peel back. I've had these for 5 years. Now, this is brand new, so I've only had that for a year. My browning I've had for a few years. They're in 2-inch pipe. This is 1.5 inch piping, and 1 3/4 or 1.5 inch piping. And I'm going to show you the design on it. I'm going to take out my rod, and I'll take out the one that I use a lot of, and I'll show you how identical it looks like my 10-foot rod. Now, this was made by like Single Lang, however. I'm not Chinese. Oops, I guess I should sit down and talk. I'm not Chinese, but Soya Gang Ling, something like that. I really enjoyed this reel. This reel and that reel over there on my 10-foot rod are the same reel. Match Catch makes that reel. Match Catch makes this reel. And it's the same rod. Like, this is my 5 6 weight rod. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing here. Fly rod, 7/8 weight rod. I really love this rod. It's brown. It kind of looks like my Browning and my Fenwick. I enjoy the weight of it. I actually like the way that it feels, the way that it casts. $100 for the rod, $100 for the reel. Like I said, I'm not going to get into all the details with it, but I'm just showing you this is how much I enjoy it. I'm not spending a lot of money, but on a rod and reel when you don't need to. And I just want to wrap this up. Now, I pulled this out because I want to show you what I've done with the ABS. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a cut. I made a cut mark on the inside. On all of them, they have these little cuts, so it's a spot where the reel can sit, and it stops right there, and I leave it like that, and it always lays flat on my truck bed like this, and then I can pick whatever rod I want. So that being said, I'm just gonna put this rod back. And I'm going to show you the other rods that I have. So I think I already showed you this one before. And this one here was my first fly rod I started out with. And I honestly, this is a Red Wolf. Red Wolf, I don't know if you can see it or not. Made in China. It's a 5/6 weight. And this is Red Wolf reel. And this was my first rod and reel. I wanted to try it. I wanted to see if I liked it. And I wanted to see how it performs. It's perfect for a beginner. Now, if you live in Canada, Canadian Tire. That's the box store that I'm saying. It's a great rod. There's nothing wrong with it. When you're starting out fly fishing, you don't want to spend a lot of money. Both of these, plus a box of flies. It comes with a couple of little things, maybe some indicators, I think. $100, $99.99 Canadian. So, when I have this rod, I'm going to always keep it, because you always get that one person that you just, you don't want to give them a real expensive rod. You just want to get them started. And this is the rod to do that with. You got to be careful putting this in, making sure your tip isn't sticking out, and it slides in nice and easy. I just wanted to show you how easy that was for me to do that. Now, that being said, my favorite line to say, now I'm going to keep sliding this back further and further, but I'm going to pull out 3 more other rods. And I want to point out, it's still hot in here. I like these little bags. If you ever go to the LCBO or your favorite spirit store, even, the Crown Royal bags, the little purple bags, they're perfect for these. So I want to point out, fly rod, 5 and 6 weight. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm going to do my best because I don't have my camera on backwards. But I also have a match catch reel, and I use this on and off. I've broken a couple rods in the past, and I've had to resort to having more than one to compensate, because it wrecks a whole day of fishing, especially when you've driven an hour or 2 out of town to go and do it. This is a great rod and reel. I think I paid $50, $60 for the reel at the time. Again, this rod was $100. I think I bought both of these for under $200, and I thought it was a good deal. Absolutely awesome rod. Like I said, it's that first 5 and 6 weight rod I pulled out to show you. That's my go-to. The one that looks like my 10-foot. That's my go-to. That will be my second go-to in case I break it. And I have broken those rods. I've actually lost the tip of them by casting and not being able to retrieve them. This guy here is a little bit different. When I go out brook trout fishing, I use this guy. And I really liked the looks of it when I saw it. And again, I'm going to point out to you, it's a match catch reel. I hope you can see that. It's a match catch reel. And it's a 5 and 6 weight. This rod is a Camel 5 and 6 weight. And I got a neighbor cutting the grass. But it's an awesome rod. It's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful rod. They call it a 4-second rod, and it really is. So some of those brook trout, we're not going after 10-pound brook trout. We're going after anywhere between 4 to 8 inches, maybe 12-inch brook trout. That's what this is, and it's a little bit shorter than 9 feet. And I really like it because the creeks that I fish in, the cedars are like right up beside you. and it's really hard to cast or get into those hard areas. But yes, beautiful rod. I paid 120 for this one, and I got pictures of it. When I first ordered this, it was all banged up in the box, and that's why I'm mentioning about using ABS to protect your rods and reels, because I got the packaging from Amazon, and the PVC pipe that's inside those containers that are all, these rods come apart in 4 pieces. And if you take a look, I always have my rod in half. And not in my entire life have I ever had to break down my rod into 2-foot sections, ever. And I've never had a rod break. I've never had a problem. So this PVC pipe was crushed. It was smashed. And the rod itself was squished. And I had to have it sent back. And I had to have it replaced. I got a green drake on the end of that guy. At the end of the day, it's a great rod and reel combination. I think I paid 210, 220 for the rod, or 110 or 120 for the rod. It was a little bit more money because of the weight and what it's supposed to actually be like. So this rod hardly ever comes out unless I'm going out brook trout fishing. So that's a really good combo right here. I really enjoy that. The ABS pipe that I have protecting my rods, you can't crush that. It's so hard to crush it. And that's why I make it as big as I do. All I have to do is break it in half, fold it down, slide it in, put it in the back of my truck. I could have my barbecue in the back, my cooler, my camper stuff, and maybe my music gear up against it. It's fully protected. Nothing harms it. Not like these little, you get the whole rod. I don't like the little pouches with the, the whole PVC pipe inside, because you know what? You could take your rod not knowing that the rod on the seat, every time I pull a rod and reel out, I'm always checking it, because it's got 2 screws that hold it onto. It's got 2 screws that, like the seat for it, the seat here. So it gives you an opportunity to see if you're loose or not from the rod or from the reel seating. And I've been on the river a couple times, and I take it out of my bag, and I get down to the river, and I'm ready to cast, and the reel is constantly wiggling. And it's because it's off the seating. It's off the seating. There's 2 screws on the inside of that need to be tightened up into the reel. And I keep a bottle of Loctite with me when that happens. And I got some screwdrivers. These are ideas I'm telling you right now. Good idea. Carry some Loctite with you. Carry some, glasses, screwdrivers that do glasses and watches. Keep a couple of those, some flatheads, and some Phillips, the small type of screwdrivers. It's always a good idea when you're on the river, and some crazy glue, and those would be some fixes you can use instead of it kind of sucks when you're 2 hours in the bush and you're on the river, and all of a sudden now your reel's coming loose off its own original seating. So it has nothing to do with it being on the rod. Those little rings are holding that seating into place. So those are good ideas I'm going to point out to you right now. And I'm going to just take a drink and a mini break right now, and we'll be right back. Cheers and fish on. So welcome back. Had to have a little break there, guys. Anyways, welcome back to Fish On. And now I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that I have done. And I just kind of came across them at the time when it needed to be done. So number one thing I want to point out, I hear a lot of people talking about black flies and a lot of mosquitoes this year out in the bush and stuff. So I got this really cool idea. And I got to go into my bag. And I always carry like this bottle of off with me. I have off, and it's an old bottle, but I get to fill it up all the time. And I also have Deepwood's off, and that's another bottle I got taped on, because these bottles like to leak all over your bag. So you want to make sure they're sealed up. If you're going to use it, put another piece of tape on. Tape. I always carry a roll of tape with me. You never know when you're going to need it. Honestly, it's a really good idea. Buy some of this hockey tape. You won't go wrong with that, especially in the sun, because it's strong and it's durable, and it might just get you back home on a desperate measure. You might trip, break your leg, and you need to use it for tying a splint or something. I'm just saying, not that I wished upon that upon anybody. It might put your rod together. It will do a million things. I'm just thinking of the worst and the least worst, because you might need it. So on that note, I always bring me a patch kit for my waders. How many times have you walked in the bush and there's always that one stick that's sticking out that you don't see, and it goes right through your waders from the front to back? I have been through the bush that many times where I'm like, I just bought these, and the stick goes right through the front of your leg and comes out the back of your leg, and you're walking in water up to your chest or at your waist or even ankle deep. You're still getting water inside them. So it's a good idea to carry one of these in your bag. I highly recommend it. I always I have this old bottle because I just have a hard time getting rid of it. I fill it up anytime I get a new bottle, and I should actually date it because of the DEET in it. But what the cool thing is with this is I don't put it all over my body, right? I take my hat off. Okay, I take my hat off, and I squirt the entire outside of the hat. And that way there, you don't smell like bug repellent when you get back home. And you won't have bugs flying around your ears, and they don't want to come into your face and land on your neck, because it's just a strong, strong odor. So that's another cool idea I'm thinking. It works for me. I know another guy, he's got a channel. He puts a dragonfly clip on his hat, and it repels every bug, because dragonflies eat the other bugs. They eat horseflies, black flies, mosquitoes, all the small duns, you name it, they eat them because they're predatory. So anyways, at the end of the day, and of course, I carry crazy glue. It doesn't cost much, and I don't open them until I need them. You never know when you're going to need it. Bottle of that, and a couple of most important things you should always carry. And I don't know if you can see, but you should carry yourself a box full of tips and eyelets. I'll even show you right now. I got a woman's fishing rod, and the tip broke off of it, and I'm going to keep that. See how it's pink on the end of it? And I had to replace that. And I just grabbed one out of here. I know it's not the same. You know how the end is kind of round, and it's just a piece of metal, and it's nice and smooth for your fly line? Well, you know, this is what, you know, was available to me at the time. It's a piece of plastic on the inside. If you don't like that piece of plastic on the inside, all you gotta do is smash it and break it open, because there's a piece of metal that goes all the way around. So, and then your fly line can go through that. And that's what I do. And what I normally do is I'll take my pliers and I'll crush it. If it's a fly line I'm replacing, I could have my spinner rod with me. Who knows? I'm constantly always adjusting my guides all the time, And yeah, so some of them are wire and some of them are plastic. And that's how I overcome that. So if you ever have that, that's a good idea to do. They come in different sizes, so don't be afraid to buy a box of those, and they're cheap. And honestly, I think I paid $10 for these. You take your rod to a guy at a shop, and they're gonna charge you $50 to replace that. And it's like, I could have done that myself. So keep that in mind. Another little helpful hint. And what else was I gonna point out here? Lots in my bag, lots in my bag. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm just trying to put some of this away so it's not in the way, because I got other things I want to show you. This is my kit. So these screwdrivers are very small screwdrivers. And like I was mentioning earlier, the reel seats have 2 tiny screws and they come loose all the time. So I've got this stuff called Tight Bond, and I use it all the time. The words might be backwards, but DAP is it's a thread locker, high strength thread locker. And sometimes when you get it from the factory, your reel and stuff, those screws aren't tight. So I've got 4 of them here. And they're the same kind you use for, like, you know, fixing your glasses or your watch, that kind of thing. There's tiny little screws on that. So get yourself some of these. Like I said, I got a couple of flats. These are flat ones. There's 2 there. And Phillips. I rarely ever see a Robertson style. I might screw myself one day without having it, but the box to get my flies in, I'm using this to keep this together all in one, and it stays relatively dry if I fall in the river, which has happened twice in my life. And at the end of the day, good idea to have that, because when your reel comes loose and you got nothing with you, it really kind of sucks to walk back to your truck to grab your second rod, or if that's your only rod to fix. So anyway, so that's kind of a really cool idea that I wanted to share with you. And of course, you know, a couple of cool things here. I got these little plastic beads. I like using them when I'm nymphing and stuff like that. So, I mean, you might want to carry an extra supply of those. But I've got brass ones, and those are plastic. What else can I show you? Okay, well, ideas when you're on the river. Okay, so I showed you a couple rods, and I showed you what I have and what I decided to do with this guy. This is the 10-foot now, and it looks like the same rod are those other 2 rods that I have in my 5 and 6 weight. I really enjoy this rod a lot. I've only used it like 3 or 4 times, but I've used the 5 and 6 weight ones for 5 years. And this is my point I'm trying to make with this whole thing. I've had this rod, this Browning, and this reel probably a good 20-something years, and it's never broke. I've caught 40-pound fish on that. and the test on this thing is 2 to 6 pounds. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's what it says right there. So anyways, at the end of the day, I only use that when I go up to the lake and I go for bigger fish like muskie and pike and bass. And yeah, I just enjoy these rods. I've been fishing with this one, my go-to, for over 5 years now. And the only thing that I ever had to replace was the extra 2 feet on top, because when I casted, it came right off the rod and went flying off. And I had I think I was fishing with a midge, and the midge went right through the eyelets and right back up to the second part of my rod, and I wasn't able to retrieve that. Now that's the cool thing about the rods that I am buying, because you can buy just that half. But for $100, you buy the whole rod. You get a brand new rod. You can exchange that out and keep the other half for a rainy day in case you need it. And I've got parts of rods here and parts of rods there. You may need it, you may not, who knows. But all these rods I've had, especially my first one, my beginner one, I've had for over 5 years. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on rods and reels. And I got a video talking about fly line and that kind of stuff. I'll get into that after. I'm just going to go for another break here. And I'm going to do a little breakdown of some flies that I use and where I get them from. I want you to stay tuned, and got a lot more coming at you. Fish on. So I got my vest on now. Just want to show you a few more things that, well, we'll just dive into it. So yeah, see, you need a pair of hemostats, and I bought some toenail clippers from the dollar store, and then I got fingernail clippers from the dollar store. I have two different sizes because sometimes your fly line, it doesn't cut so easy with your fingernails. So, and I also have a nail knot tool on the end of a ring. And I bought these a long time ago. It used to be a key ring. It's a piece of plastic that's connected to a zipper on my vest. I just want to point out my vest as well. I think I paid like 60, 70 bucks. Amazon. And I also bought a nice little sack here. It's good to be putting your cold drinks and your lunch in it, because if you put that in your bag and your cold drinks end up popping a hole in it and you get your drinks all over your gear, it's not a fun afternoon. So that's another tip I want to point out to you. This vest holds, I got 4 fly boxes in the front, and I got 2 in the back. And the 2 in the back are flies that I hardly ever use. And before we get into flies, let's just put that cat. But we're not going to get into flies just yet, because I want to talk about indicators. I don't know, I got a whole bag full of them. I don't know, you've probably seen these before. Ravens, and you know, the popsicle stick type of, anyways. I fished with them. I'm guilty. I even got a glass one in there. I don't understand the glass ones, right? They worked. They did great work for steelhead fishing. They're awesome. They're big. They're bright. You can see it. They're really good. I haven't used one of these probably 5 years, 6 years, maybe longer. So what I did was I grabbed I'm in the construction field, and I like to build things, and I do renovations for a living as a contractor. So I got some 2-inch styrofoam that we use for insulating walls and stuff, and I cut pieces of them off, and I'll put them on a drill, and I will dowel my own indicators at different sizes. And I'll make all different types of shapes. That one's more like a square, that one's a tiny one. And I like putting a little black bottom and an orange top on it. And I make my own. And I've got like green, I got yarn here too. I hardly ever use the yarn ones. So I got green ones, and I got yellow ones. Whichever one the fish are hitting on, I take it off and replace it. And I got real tiny ones. I mean, my eyes are super bad, but you know what? This still floats on the water above the fly, and they work amazing. When you're getting into nymphing and you're getting into indicator fishing, I got a ton of these. I made every single one of these just by using my drill and a dowel. Now, since you're here, okay, let me just grab one. All right, so You've seen all this kind of stuff before. It's a rubber tube. Okay, perfect. It's rubber tubing. You can get this at the hardware store. It's tiny little stuff. You can buy it at your tackle shop. You can buy it at your fly fishing shop. Knock yourself out. I got a little Advil bottle full of toothpicks, which is a really good idea to carry with you, because you never know when you're going to get your lunch stuck on your teeth. No, I'm just kidding. So, I take my indicator and I'll put my toothpick right through the center of it, just like so. And I got two pieces of this tubing, and it's just smaller than my toothpick. And I really like my indicator super small. And this is what it ends up looking like. Okay, and then what I'll do is, I'll do it on the river, is I'll snap the ends of the tips of the toothpick off. How many times have you casted and your line's all caught around the top of it and it's got you all tangled up? So if you snap this off right at the top of the rubber pieces, you won't have that problem. So there's another trick for you. So I make my own indicators. I painted them and clear coated them and that kind of thing. So there's a couple of cooler ideas. Not to mention, you don't want to be using stuff like this when you're out brook trout fishing, because you're just going to spook the fish. Now, some of these are bigger than the fish. You don't want to be doing that. So at the end of the day, that's what I've done in the past, and I keep them in one side of my pouch. That's all indicator. And it's always a good idea to keep yourself some clevises and some swivels. Keep both, because you never know. One's for streamer fishing and one's for spinner fishing, and I keep them with me because I do two kinds of fishing. So that's a bit of my gear that I have, and I keep that. Hopefully some of that helps you. And I want you to stay tuned, because I got a little bit more coming at you. We're going to talk about flies. I'm going to get some fly boxes out. I'm not going to get into it too much, because I got something really special I want to share with you. And we're going to stay tuned to Fish On and end this segment with talking about flies and how I learned how to do and fish with flies. So stay tuned. Fish On. Welcome back to Fish On. I got a few more things I want to chat about. It's been a long 5 and 6 years, but a fun, adventurous 5 years. I got out of spinner fishing because it was boring after a while. You know, it's easy to throw that spinner in the water and reel, and there's a fish. You know, it got boring for me. So I got into fly fishing. I watched a video on YouTube by chance, and apparently the channel doesn't want me to even mention their name, so I won't. It's too bad, because they're a very awesome channel and very informative and very, very, very informative and educational. That's how I learned how to fly fish. So anyways, at the end of the day, when I started, I got a book, and I went down to the, I didn't buy a book to read. I bought a blank book, like a scrapbook kind of thing, because I was trying to get all the information that I needed to, I wanted to make sure that I had it. And I carried this book with me in my bag for a couple of years, because I didn't know what type of fly to use. I didn't know the difference between a mayfly and a nymph and, you know, all these other flies. And 5 years later, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I got 6 boxes of flies here. And you don't need 6 boxes of flies. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I have them, and there's a specific reason for it. We're not going to get into it today. But when I bought my first rod, which you're going to see during this clip, this is the kind of stuff that I got from it. And I thought, you know what? This is some information here, and they're going to teach you how to fly fish. And I know all the wording's probably backwards and that kind of thing. Soya Gaya Ling Fly Fishing. So that's the name of that reel. And I broke that rod probably the first 2 weeks of me fishing. I didn't like the rod that came with that reel. And I shopped around, and I finally found that brown rod. And I really enjoy that rod. I've had many of them. And I still have many of them. I got 3 of them with me. And anyways, great rod. 5 years. You know what? You don't need to spend $1 billion on rods and reels. I'm going to tell you that right now. And they're all medium. You know, you have your fast, medium, and slow. They're all medium. That's my kind of thing. It might not be yours. You might like things a little bit tender and or quicker and stuff. See, like there's like all kinds of stuff here. Talks about your reel and how to cast. So I kept all this. Talks about knots, different types of flies, and I'm showing it to you because, and it tells you about the cycle of mayflies and nymphs. So, you know, it's hard when you're trying to learn something, you can't absorb it all. You only absorb a little piece of it. When you get on the water, you totally forget about everything. And you're like, oh, what did that guy say? What did that book say? So I used this as a scrapbook, and I glued it in, and I brought it with me on the river. And I always, if I was stumped or I was kind of confused, I pulled my book out and looked at it. And I took notes from the other fly channels, talking about different size fly line, from 0x to 6x, thick and thin. Like I know all this stuff now, but I didn't. So I recommend someone to do that. This is my fly fishing Bible. And it talks about, you know, you got to take 3 or 4x and divide it by, you know, the size of the fly by 3 or 4. Like if it's a size 12 fly, you divide it by 3 or 4. Or if it's a size 6, you divide it by 3 or 4. It depends on if you're going to use a 3 or 4x tippet, or if you're going to use a 1 or 2x tippet. It's very important that you know that, because the size fly dictates on how it presents itself on the water, or however way you're going to do it. And you know, I even took notes about dry flies and wet flies and that kind of thing. That's just a little booklet that came with the fly rod, which is cool. And you know, I already knew a lot about Maxima, so I took and printed off a Maxima chart to get the different diameters, that kind of thing, and compared it to pound test to the diameters of regular tippet, which I carry. I think I showed this to you before, but in one of my other videos, like I got a whole whack full of, this is nothing but Maxima. I got 8 pound, I got 6 pound, I've got 4 pound, and I've got ultra green and clear. Like I got a ton of it. So it's, you know, having Maxima is a really good idea to have. And then I've got everything from 3x to 5x. See, there's 3x there, there's 4x there, and 5x. I think I got 6, and I think I got 7. No, I think 6 is the most I got. I ran out of 7. But, you know, it's important to know that when you're on the water. If you're not sure, you know, you don't want to be on your phone YouTubing, right? Or you don't want to be Googling it. You don't want to get your phone out. You get into your bag, grab a sandwich, grab a drink, look at your Bible, because it's something you can relate to, because you wrote it down, and it'll absorb in your brain a little bit more. So things like this were really good idea for me. And of course, you know, I'm a visual type of person, just like anybody else. Again, even that cheap rod that I bought, Red Wolf, came with instructions on how to fly fish. My first fly rod, And I thought that was kind of cool, and because I didn't expect that, and it came with some flies. And you know, I got a performance chart on different types of fly line, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. And again, then I bought some match catch stuff, so when they talk about, you know, flies and stuff there, I'm not gonna go through every single page. What's really nice about it is a whole breakdown of your reel. So when you have to oil it, grease it, clean it, and that kind of thing, that's a good thing. When it breaks down on you, when you're on the river, it's nice to have that there. So if you're missing a part, you know what's missing. Not that it happens, but it could. I got a lot of notes here. Fish rising, yes. Fish rising, no. If they're not, switch to a nymph or a streamer. If they're rising, match the fly with the hatch. Cast directly over the rising fish. Not all the time. I wouldn't recommend that 100%. But I read that from somebody from YouTube. Now that my years of experience, 5 years of fly fishing, I probably wouldn't do that. I would watch that fish rise a few times, because sometimes when they rise, they'll back away, or sometimes they go ahead, and 90% of the time they're further back. Anyways, that's a debatable thing, but I'm not here. Color of nymphs, kind of brown. Dry flies don't vary in color. Match color to the stream bottom. To nymphs, change something bright. To sum it all up, if the fish are rising, dry fly. If the fish are not, throw a nymph. Like, just simple stuff like that makes a big difference. Because if you don't know what fly to use, because these are dry flies, these are nymphs, and it's like, these are nymphs. And if you don't know what one does and the other one doesn't, without knowing the cycle of entomology and the bugs that we use for fishing, it's pretty hard for you to understand that. So it's good to have this kind of thing. So another thing that I did was, I don't mean to make this a big long segment, but I printed off a whole column of flies, and flies that people talked about online. I circled them. Oh, you need this fly, you need that fly. There's a second page there. You need this fly, you need that fly. Another page there, and I circled the ones that they talked about. Now, I'm in Canada. You might be in Colorado, okay? We're doing the same type of fishing. And some of you guys are mentioning the same flies that I use still today. Some flies I don't even get here. Like, there's a favorite fly I see online, a lot of guys in Colorado using it. It's called the Perdigon. I can't find them. I can't find them here at all. It looks like an awesome nymph. But I have my favorites and my nymphs. So, but I know the difference now. So that's why I have this book of different flies. And I circled them, and I locate. You have to understand, you got to look for them in the water in order to see what's in the river that the fish are eating from, and different types of woolly buggers. And anyways, I can go on and on and on. I got hundreds of pages that I glued all these in. So, and I sat, and I would look at this, like there's midges here. And I should have this title, midges, and I should have the other pages, nymphs, and then the other ones, mayflies. But I don't, because I didn't know back then. And a fly is a fly is a fly. I mean, I got cone heads in here, like, cone head? What's a cone head, right? Like, I never even heard of that before. An ice cream cone, and I got tons of them. I got tons of them now. I never heard of them. What's an ice cream cone? I don't know. And you start realizing it's a midge. It could be a mosquito or a black bug or there's a name I want to say, but I can't remember. I'll bring it up in a later time. Anyways, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. But I mean, I got pages and pages of flies, San Juan worms and more midges and nymphs and woolly buggers. Of course, I didn't know what a woolly bugger was. And if you're starting out fishing, I'm sure you don't know what they are. I got tons of woolly buggers. Like I said, but you don't know until you actually start. You ever play that card game with your kid and you got, 1 + 1 is what? 2, and you flip it over and it's a 2? Well, that's kind of what, and 2 + 2 is what? 4, and you flip it around, it's 4. It's kind of what this is all about. It's about just reminding you. And so, I mean, I leave this at home now, and I came across it the other day, and I thought to myself, wow, I can't believe I still have that. I thought I lost it, to be honest with you. So this is my fly fishing Bible, and this is how I got started. It's a really good idea. You know what? It's not anything to look down on, because if fishing is a sport, I'm an athlete, and that's what that says. So I mean, I've done a lot of fishing, man. I'm just gonna continue with a couple of other things here, and then we're gonna get into our conclusion and another drink here. Again, our friends, our buds at Budweiser. That's my choice of spirits. So y'all probably know what this stuff is. And that's a bottle of gink. And you see the packaging, it's pretty banged up. Even the bottle is open in the back. Okay, it's all okay. I'm gonna tell you why it's like that. It's in my bag, and it's been in my bag for the last 5 years. And when you're dry fly fishing, you're supposed to use it to keep the fly on top of the water. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but after my 2nd year fly fishing, I learned how to make my own fly floatant. And I'm not going to tell you the recipe. There's all kinds of guys that do it online. Check it out. And I'm not joking you. I think some of them get carried away with one product and not enough of the other. You got to really experience it yourself and figure it out. And this bottle's kind of, I use it all the time. This one's full, number 2. And this one's 3. I want to call it gunk, but I can't because there's a car company out there that has oil cleaning company called Gunk to take off oil and grease off their vehicles. And then there's Gink, and then you got all kinds of other stuff. So I can't call it Gink, I can't call it Gunk, and I can't call it Flagra. I can't call... So you know what? I call it the Fish On Fly Floating. And that's my number 1 bottle. And why it's numbered like that? Because when it's empty, I want to make sure I go to number 2 bottle. And I go to... So... And the reason why I'm showing it to you, I made these 3 bottles 4 years ago. That's why I still have that bottle of gink in there. Because I bought 5 bottles of gink. And I went through that first bottle like you wouldn't believe. And then I threw it out. And I thought to myself, man, that's kind of retarded. I think I paid $20 for a bottle of that. I made this for pennies. I'm not joking you when I tell you. You might spend $20 on all the material you need to make this, but the amount of material you'll get will give you enough gink for a lifetime. So, I mean, it's like filling a pint of paint up or a small can of beer when you got a 4-gallon jug of stuff. And that's what I'm getting at. I got the material that I made this out of is in a big bucket, and I still have 3 full bottles from 4 years ago. So check it out online. There's a couple of cool guys. I checked out their video. I think I got a link on my channel somewhere from one of them making it. So check that out. and we're gonna move on to some flies. I'm just gonna stop and take another break. I want you to stay tuned because I got a little bit more coming at you, and fish on. Welcome back to Fish On, and getting into flies. It's been something I've always wondered, like, how do we get into this massive idea? Hey, there's a bug in the ground underneath the river that the fish are eating. What if I fished with that? Because that's what the fish are eating. Instead of throwing a spinner at it or a lure, or like, who came up with this idea? Fly fishing. It's absolutely magic. I love it. I love the idea of it. When you don't know nothing about bugs, except for spiders and bees, and when you go camping, you experience this kind of thing. You don't really understand there's where they come from. I know mosquitoes come from water, and that's how larvae are made. When you get old, you understand all that, but when you're a kid, you don't get all that. So it's kind of cool how you get to be educated as you're a fly fisherman, and you learn in different type of bugs and flies, and even like crickets and grasshoppers and terrestrial type of flies. It's absolutely the most amazing thing to know, because as you fly fish and you come across a fly, and you'll see me in some of my videos, I'm flipping over rocks and I see a bug and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then today I might know, but I still show that video because it's a visual. Then if you know what that fly is, mention it in the video. If I don't mention it, and I don't, mention it in my video. Let me know what fly that is. But I know a lot of flies now, so anyways, I don't even know where to start, but I think I'm going to start off with wet flies because I don't really fish a lot of them. And there's some guys that's all they fish with, wet flies only. And I just think dry fly and nymphs and wet flies and streamers now. 2 years ago, I didn't even think about streamer fishing because I wasn't experienced enough in the water. So I tried. When I first started out, I fished with dry flies and nymphs. And I was just trying to understand what dry flies and what nymphs were in the river and when to use them and how to use them. And I didn't know that. So my first couple of years, I was experimenting and I was learning and educating myself on just that procedure. So, and every time I bought flies, I always got these wet flies with them. So, and I got a ton of them here. And I know guys, like I said, they exclusively just wet flies. And I got a ton of them here. And I'm going to bring them up close. And they're really nice. Now, I haven't done any wet fly fishing in a very long time. And I barely pulled this box out. But I know some of these ones in the bottom are a very famous fly. So yeah, so I haven't done any wet fly fishing. And some flies you get in some boxes. I mean, you get stuff off Amazon, and this is how I started. I bought flies off Amazon. I'm guilty. And I really like these boxes to soap, by the way. And you get some flies that you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, no fish is going to hit that. I mean, you need to figure out. Now, I haven't studied these. Excuse me. I haven't studied these, so I don't know what fly is. Well, what? But if I pull this out, I got all these labeled inside this book. Then I can find out what flies actually will work and what won't work. I'm sure if it looks like food and acts like food, the fish are probably going to eat it. So, from a famous YouTube channel that I watched a lot of my videos from, that's where I'm getting that from. And I really enjoy that content that he has. Anyway, so I want to move on from this because I'm not there yet. So here we are. We're nymphing and we're dry fly fishing. And I don't know what kind of nymphs to get. I don't know what kind of dry flies to get. And all I heard was mayfly, 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 mayfly. Okay, mayflies. And like, where's my mayflies at? Oh, here we go. So, I mean, I'm going to pull one out for you. And what's really odd about it is mayflies come different colors and different types, okay? This is what you call a real mayfly. I don't know. Here, maybe I'll put that in my hand and you can see it a little bit better. Maybe not. I don't know. I should get my forceps out, then you can see it. So you all know what that is. That's definitely a mayfly. So they call that a realistic mayfly. And I really don't enjoy fishing with those. So I got only a handful of them, different sizes, that kind of thing. So what I do have is, I got some real small ones, I got some big ones. This is one of my favorite ones. Let me just see if I can put that in behind. There you go, you can see that guy. And so you have your mayflies with the wing up, mayflies with the wing straight up, and mayflies with the wing down. All three flies do a little bit different. And sometimes the fly sits like this in the water, and then it sits like that. And, you know, it just depends on the day, the fish, and the mode. Like that guy has wings sticking out. And if I show you one of these guys, it's kind of like a parachute. So the wings are straight up. So you have wings that are straight up, and you have wings that are straight down. Totally different color, totally different. The same fly, different color. You gotta match the hatch. So these are mayflies, and some of them are attractors. Those are some of my favorite flies. This one here is like a hare's ear type of thing. It's a big fly. It's been banged up and beat up. Believe it or not, man, I mean, the guys that make these flies, I look at a fly on the ground, I pick it up, and then I grab a fly, and they like, you just got to take it out of the box and see if it looks like it. It doesn't look nothing like it. It doesn't. Like, look at a stonefly, and then take a stonefly out of your box. I don't have legs. It doesn't look as creepy as the thing that's sitting on the rock. Anyways, that's my projection. Let me just put this back. Anyway, so these are called, the flies I just finished showing you, they're called the natural. So don't get that confused, but that's the name of those, the natural. And of course, you know, these are other types of flies that are very popular, and that's like an attractor. You need to have a bunch of those. Let me just, yeah, I'm not even going to get into those. That's a waste of time. And, you know, some other flies that I absolutely love using, and 99% of the time in the last 5 years have been my go-to. This year, not so much, because waters are higher. It's been really hot some days, and it's been raining for most of it. Then it's super cold. Then it's hot, and then it's cold. Then it's raining. So we haven't had the greatest summer. So with that going on, the rivers have been fluctuating, the fish have been fluctuating, and you need to figure that out. That's a real tough call. You don't know what you're doing, what you're using. And like, let me tell you this, man. Every year I go to the same rivers over and over again, and they're always changed. You got trees down, you got debris here, or a hole's all messed up. Your favorite hole's all, you can't get in it. It happens. And that's kind of a downfall with the type of fishing that we're doing here, especially me. But you got to make the best of it, and you got to adapt to it, to the different flies and stuff. So I'm going to go, and we're just going to pick maybe 10 flies, some of my favorite ones. That was one of them, and we're not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to show you some of them that work where I'm at, that works where you're at in Colorado. I say Colorado because there's another guy, he fishes strictly out of Colorado. It's a quiet channel, he don't talk, he don't say too much. I really like him. Drew, looking fishy. Awesome guy. I love his fishing channel. Anyways, yeah, okay. No specific order, but when I don't know what to fish with and the fish are rising, I start off with a caddis, an elk hair caddis fly. And I'll show you one of those right here. And I got two different kinds here. One's black, one's in tan. So here's a black one. And you've seen me use that several times in a lot of my videos. There you go. In a lot of my videos, you always see me pulling out an elk hair caddis. And something I'm trying out too is, you know, I should have had my forceps out. The elk hair caddis, I'm just going to show you it to you this way. Rubber legs here. And then I've got some tan ones right there. So, I mean, there's no point in me just pulling them all out. So, that's a lot of elk hair caddises there. They're different sizes. So, I'm anywhere between 8, 10, 12, and 14. Because I find sometimes you need a big one. You need something in the middle. Because they'll come up and hit it and not take it. And if you go and look at some of my videos, a lot of those fish had come up, hit it, and I'm catching that fish and that hook is in the butt. It's just the way things happen sometimes. They're refusing it, and you go to set the hook, and maybe two fish are coming at it. I don't know how that happens, but you get it in the butt, and it's always on the belly side because they're coming up and they're refusing it. I'm not going to get into the science of that. Couple of other really cool flies that I use, and I use them a lot, and I'm going to show them right to you here. And these are called the Adams dry fly, and here's some more there. And I'll have a picture of all these flies as I'm talking. It'll be maybe here, maybe there, maybe there, or maybe there. I don't know, wherever I put the picture. But anyways, at the end of the day, the Adams dry fly, phenomenal fly. You gotta have a bunch of them, different sizes as well. And the other fly, which I would recommend having is the Adams dry fly, but in a parachute. And I only have, believe it or not, I should have more, but I don't have as many as I should. And I'm always prepared, as you can see, of the amount of flies that I have. I got some really size 14s in here. I hope you can see them. Right about there, see those two little white spots? If I can pull one of those out. This is called an Adams parachute. This has got to be one of the smallest flies I've ever. Where's my pliers at here? Give me a second here. There we go. This is what we'll do. Okay, and I'll do that so you can see. So, yeah, so this is the Adams parachute. And that means the wings are up. This is... So many times I've had fish hit me on my regular Adams and they just don't want nothing to do with it. And I put an Adam's parachute on, they'll come run with it. Absolutely an aggressive fly. I love it. Let's see if I can downsize my pliers here. And I always carry 2 different size pliers. And I carry them not because I need to pull hooks out of a fish's mouth. It's because if I need to do repairs to a reel or something. Another one of my favorite flies, I got a couple of broken bent ones here, is the hare's ear. And this is about, I think that's a size 10. It's an absolutely amazing fly. I'm going to see if I can get that. Anyways, hare's ear. There's going to be a photograph of these, so don't worry. Hare's ear without the bead. Dry fly and a nymph. You can have a nymph hare's ear and you can have a dry fly hare's ear. Anyway, so these are some of my awesome flies that I use. And I'm going to show you one more hare's ear with wings. Same fly, but it's a mayfly. So it's got its wings up, whereas the other hare's ear, it's going to be sitting in the water like this, and it's like an emerger type of fly. So you have you have this bug coming up to the top of the water, and it's trying to get out of the water, and there's a process, and you got to watch videos on that. I'm not here to talk about that today. Anyways, this is one with the wings out and ready to fly away. Another favorite fly of mine I use a lot of when it's really awesome out, when fishing is just rocking in the middle of summer. I use this fly. It's called the March Brown, and it's an extended tail. It's a beautiful fly for brook trout fishing. I put that on, and it crushes them. They take it, and I have different ones here. So I've got like the green drake style, and then I've got the mayfly style there. There's all different types of styles. I'm not going to get into it. And of course, I've got the roe wolves coming up there, and I have a ton of mosquitoes. I want to turn this back over and and of course we got more mosquitoes on this side. So we got parachute mosquitoes, so the wings are like this, and then we got regular mosquitoes where the wings are out like that. And that's a key thing, because if they're hitting it and they're not taking it, you might want to put the ones with the wings up. Maybe that's what they're after. The best thing to do is take your hat off, scoop up the bugs in the water, because I don't have a net, and see if you can get a bug in your hat. Then you'll know what they're eating. Another trick. I really love using these flies here called the green drake. And all the black tops are the parachute style green drakes. So there's some 8, 10s, and 12s there. I use those an awful lot. And then I have another one. I think it's called the fox drake. It's an absolute killer fly. It's only used certain times. It's one of those fussy ones. But that green drake, you put that on, you can't go wrong. It's absolutely awesome. Of course, I got some humpies and stuff like that. But, that's a lot of my dry fly stuff that I use. I got 2 boxes of dry fly stuff. And I only named maybe 8 flies, 9, 10 flies. That's for dry fly fishing. If you only had the Bible, that I have, you probably wouldn't have as many flies as I do. But unfortunately, I had to have them. So we got into nymphing because you need to learn how to nymph. I didn't know nothing about nymphing. And know nothing about nymphing. So I went into a box store before I found a really awesome place to buy my flies from. So I'm not going to mention the box store because I have my place I buy my flies from, and I've been doing it for the last few years now. You'll see a couple of tags on some of these flies, and it just reminds me of the size. That's why they're there. And those are flies I've had since the day one I started fly fishing. And I keep that there. Then I know I gotta get size 10, put them over here. And sometimes it's, well, you see how many flies I have? It's very hard to keep up with what size it is. And you know, some guys have a gauge and you can put I don't even bother with that. You know what? I'll put the fly on. If the fish are refusing it, I just take it off. I'll put in a smaller fly. And if they still refuse it, I'll put on the smallest one I got. And if they refuse that, I change the fly up or change my leader line, and I'll go from there. So that's, you know, at the end of the day, that's some pretty good advice. Anyway, so we got some Prince nymphs and some flashbacks, and, you know, I'm going to show you the whole box, right? You don't need this many, people. You don't. You only fish with one or two of them. If you lose it, then you don't have any more. You know, just take what you need and go from there. I've got some pretty awesome, and this is a fly I've been using for the last month, and it's a hare's ear. It's a nymph, and it's got a little bit of bling on the back of it. I don't know if you can see that. And what I do is, if I can't get it deep enough, I got bags of brass beads with me, and I stick them on my tippet, and then I put that on there, and it gets down a little bit deeper, and then I do the Kelly Gallup casting and retrieving system that he has. Check him out. He does an awesome job on teaching you how to streamer fish. We're going to get to that very soon here. So those are really cool flies that I've been using. Like these guys here. Super Prince Nymph. Right? You all know what that is. I mean, Super Prince Nymph. Never seen one of those before. You haven't done any nymph fishing yet. I got tons of them. I take people fishing sometimes, and I put one of those on, and they guarantee they catch fish. They've never fly fished before, but they have a fun time doing it. That's the most important thing when you're fly fishing. Have some fun, because it's not always about how many fish you're catching. And I know it's a tactical thing, and you're educated this far, but to take someone out and throw all this information at them all in one day, never going to happen. And they'll never come fishing with you again. So anyways, at the end of the day, I mean, I got all kinds, all right? I got all kinds. And I got different types. You know, like I said, there's flashbacks, and then there's Prince nymphs, flashbacks, Prince nymph. Anyways, different sizes, that kind of thing. And again, I got some copper johns up here, different sizes, and these are all stone flies here. Bigger Prince nymphs when I get into flashbacks. These are big ones sitting right here. And of course, you know, we got some Kaufmans. Here's a big Kaufman. I'll show you him. That's a big stone fly. That's a rubber leg stone fly. And I got another one here I'll show you. And yeah, these are, what size is this? This is called the King of Stones, and it's brown. This is a number 6. So that's when you're going for big fish. Notice there's a couple of beads on them. Anyway, so that's, you know, I should fish more of those, but I haven't. And this guy here, this is called the Super Nymph Hare's Ear. And this is in number 6 too. So they come in different shapes and sizes, that kind of thing. Anyways, hopefully you're enjoying the different flies I'm using and the ones I have. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. But, okay, so I always have my nymph boxes. My 2 dry fly boxes are always on one side because if I need gink, I have, or fish on fly floating on one side of my pouch, and then I have my nymphs on the other. Yeah, I got caddis pupa. I've got scuds here. You know, I'll show you the caddis pupas that I have. They're all along the top here, right? These are all like ants, that kind of thing. That's a caddis pupa there. But all these are like caddis pupas sitting on top. They all come in different stages. And, you know, I'm not going to get into it too much, but this is like eye candy. This is just a bunch. There's some caddis pupa up top here, but most of these are all midges. Most of them are all midges. Absolutely crazy. There's the Christmas cone right there. I mentioned to you. I got some of these yellow ones here for, and these ones here for steelhead, and these guys down here. These are nymphs. This guy here for steelhead, and of course these guys. Well, the pink ones are all for steelhead. But anyways, at the end of the day, that's my midges and my nymphs and my dry flies, my wet flies. Now, I just want to point out if you're not fishing with real flies, you ain't fishing with real flies. Those words are going to be backwards. I'm okay with that. But I'm going to tell you something. That's the company that I deal with. Realflies.ca. Call Steve or the girls and they'll hook you up. That's where I get my flies from for the past, I don't know, 4 years now. And I just I just want to show you real quick. I got some grasshoppers. And I have some beetles and bugs, that kind of thing. And I got these type of streamers, cheap streamers. They came with my first rod. I still have them. And you know why I still have them? Because I don't fish with them. Anyways, at the end of the day, and you got to have some squirmy worms, people, because they actually do a job. And they do a really good job. So get some squirmy worms. And then there's some, I call them Mrs. Robinsons. I don't, some people say something else to them. But anyways, at the end of the day, the only reason why I have these grasshoppers, I don't hardly ever fish with them, but I use them as an indicator. They have a hook on them, and if the fish want to hit it, because they hit my indicators all the time. So at least the grasshopper's got a hook. If they want to hit my grasshopper, they can knock themselves out. So yeah, talking about streamers, I went and bought a bunch last year. Nobody knows what the heck is going on here. A bunch of egg patterns here, and I gotta get some more of these. What's the name of this guy? But anyways, that's a streamer for steelhead. It's white. Oh man, I'm trying to remember the name of it. So I had a bunch of them and I lost a couple of them. And here's a smaller version of it. And one's weighted, one's not non-weighted. And anyways, at the end of the day, got a few of those. And of course, I've got what they call the sex dungeon. It's a killer fly. That's the black sex dungeon. It's got an orange bead on it. It's an articulated one. And just making sure I can put that back and don't get the tail all messed up. Don't get into too many, pulling them out. And I've got all kinds of woolly buggers, green, olive. I've got chartreuse, and I've got some white ones and some purple ones. I got them all. Of course, you know, there'll be photographs for every single one of those up top or wherever I decide to put them. This is some of the flies I fish with. Now, the streamers, I'm just getting into. I haven't done a lot of streamer fishing, so I'd like to get into some streamer fishing with some pike and bass. And once I get a little bit more, once I get more flies for pike and bass fishing and muskie, I'm going to start using that 7/8 weight rod that I got. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. And I really want to point out there's 50 people watching my videos, at least that, because there's 50 subscribers. And I got 300 to 500 views on some of them. And if you're watching this video, hit like button, hit the subscribe button. Do me a favor, leave me a comment. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. And you know what? It helps me. Because if this is this type of thing that you like to watch and you want to learn from, keep watching my channel and you keep watching my other videos. I'll even have links to other people's videos. So, you know, you're not just helping me out, but you're helping them as well. It's like a community. And YouTube loves it as well. What can I say? Hit like and subscribe. And, you know, every time you subscribe and you hit like and you mention a comment, that notification bell, every time I put a new video on, you get to watch it right away. So you need to have that in order to get those notifications if you enjoy my content. I enjoy your content. I'm the one guy making the one video for that one person watching. So please, do me a favor. I just want to know the 50 people that are subscribers. I'd like to know more about you. I want to know where you're from and what it is you like about my channel, what it is you don't like. I want you to stay tuned because I got a lot more coming at you. And fish on.